Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and this is the Networking RX podcast. I feel I need to say this to remind you, this is a podcast about networking. Nevertheless, the title of this particular episode is 99942 Apophis. What is 99942 Apophis? We'll refer to it just as Apophis for the balance of this program. Apophis is a 370 meter diameter near-Earth asteroid. For those who might not know, an asteroid is considered a small, mostly rocky body, whereas comets are largely made up of ice. These are objects in a near-Earth orbit. Because they're made up of rock, they don't have tails as a comet might. Near-Earth objects survive in their orbit for just a few million years. They are eventually eliminated by planetary protrusions, causing them to be ejected from the solar system, or they'll collide with the sun or a planet. By the way, as a reminder, Earth is a planet. This is why when it was discovered in December of 2004, Apophis caused a period of concern because initial observations indicated that it would hit Earth on April 13th, 2029. Now, by 2006, additional observations provided improved predictions that eliminated the possibility of an impact on Earth in the year 2029. However, there remained a possibility that during 2029, when it had its close encounter with Earth, that Apophis would pass through what they termed a gravitational keyhole, which is a small region of space. And if it went through this gravitational keyhole, it would set itself up for a future impact with Earth exactly 7 years later on April 13th, 2036. Pretty scary, huh? Well, relax. By 2008, the keyhole had been determined to be very, very small, and the chance that Apophis would actually hit Earth became very, very, very unlikely. So we can just put that aside and relax. Nevertheless, let's play what if. What if by chance Apophis hit that gravitational keyhole in 2029 and we, mankind that is, had 7 years to avert disaster? What if? What would we do? Well, if we follow the script provided by Hollywood, movies like 1979 Meteor, which starred Sean Connery, or 1998's Deep Impact with Téa Leone, and then there was another movie that year in 1998, Armageddon with Bruce Willis. If we follow these scripts, we hammer Apophis with nuclear bombs, blast it to pieces, saving mankind. Yay us. These movies are very, very entertaining. But while they're entertaining, the solution they propose to dealing with the potential impact from an asteroid is, well, highly flawed. While a nuclear explosion would surely bust Apophis into hundreds, if not thousands of pieces, simple physics dictates that much of it would still be on a collision course with us. So rather than having to contend with one earthbound object, we'd have more than we could handle, many large enough to create widespread devastation and death. So what's the solution? Science, NASA, world aeronautical agencies have one. One they would have deployed on Apophis or any sizable earthbound object, and they're looking for them. The solution is simple. With a 7-year window, we could fly to Apophis and using lasers or small explosives, gently nudge it off course. We'd nudge Apophis, we'd calculate the new trajectory, then potentially nudge it again. Repeating this until we give it a trajectory that avoids Earth completely and potentially forever. What does this have to do with networking? Again, this is a podcast on networking. What does it have to do with networking? Lots. Remember, our networks are made up of relationships. And we all know that those relationships are not perfect. We're all a little self-centered. We're all a little unreliable. We're all a little distracted. None of us are completely in sync with anyone else. While none of us are perfect, some of our relationships are potentially detrimental to us. The self-centeredness, the unreliability, the distraction is so bad that it may just be more trouble than it's worth. What do you do with these relationships? Well, you could take the Bruce Willis approach, fly up there, drill into it and blow it up. You could tell these people like it is, detailing each and every shortcoming they have. You can give them a piece of your mind, tell them exactly how they make you feel. You can tell them off using every choice word in the book to make your point. That'll make you feel great, right? But then just like exploding Apophis, you'd have to deal with all sorts of fallout. Remember, none of our relationships are held in a vacuum. Everyone we know is connected to someone else we know. We might have an issue with someone, but the other person we know might not have an issue with that person. And then we have to explain ourselves to them. Even people who don't know the person we've blown up, air quotes, but know of the blow up, we need to do some damage control on. And even if everyone thinks the same about this person, we impact how we look in blowing things up. In short, all that fallout might be more detrimental than dealing with the relationship itself. Or we could follow the NASA game plan and simply nudge the person. Nudge them to better behavior or nudge them quietly out of your life. Now, whether you nudge them to better behavior or gently nudge them out of your life is going to depend. It depends on the situation, the circumstance, and depending on that, how you set about nudging them will also depend. There is seemingly an infinite number of situations and circumstances, and no one size fits all for nudging people to the right behavior or nudging them out of your life. Nevertheless, nudging is the easy answer, but it's not the simple solution. It takes a sense of calm, it takes patience, it takes thoughtfully thinking through the situation and the people you work with. Let me share a story to provide an example, but first let's sneak this in.
This is Tom Anderson. I'm the founder and CEO of AcceloWeb. We are a 15-person website design firm and search engine marketing company. We help our clients with websites, search engine marketing, and a lot of web hosting as well. At AcceloWeb, we've achieved great success through professional networking. And part of our reason for success is that I'm a franchisee of AmSpirit Business Connections. You see, a few days each week, I commit a couple hours to building my AmSpirit franchise. The rest of the time, I'm all about growing AcceloWeb. The neat thing is that my AmSpirit franchise helps AcceloWeb, and AcceloWeb helps feed my AmSpirit franchise. If you're interested in learning more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, contact Frank Agin using the email at the end of this program. If you want to learn more about my experiences as a franchisee, or if I could answer any questions about websites or search engine marketing, email me at tom.anderson@exceloweb.com. That's EXCELLEWEB.com.
Okay, here's my story. A story of how the nuclear option is just not the smart way to go. Years and years ago, I was working with a new chapter of AmSpirit Business Connections. There was one particular prospect who was involved and represented a multi-level marketing business. To be clear, at AmSpirit Business Connections, we don't prevent these businesses from participating, but we don't allow them to overtly pitch the membership on the opportunity. If you're an attorney, you're an accountant, or any profession or entrepreneur, and you've devoted years to your craft, you don't want to be perpetually pitched or peppered as to why you should abandon that and be distracted with something else. At any rate, this particular prospective member didn't like that rule and was after me to change it, right then, right on the spot. He hounded me after the first meeting when he learned of the rule. He hounded me in emails. He hounded me when I arrived at the next meeting, before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. Each time he pressed me, and I was polite but firm. We have a rule, we have a reason for the rule, and that's the rule. I'm sorry. But he was undeterred. After the meeting, he stuck around and pressed me and pressed me. The rule needed to be changed. And to him, the arguments made perfect sense. To me, there was a rule. Nevertheless, he pushed and he pushed and he pushed. And then he said something and pushed too much. He got me. A younger version of me, albeit, but he got me. I turned to him and no, I didn't hit him. I'm not that bad. I told him, and I'm so ashamed to say this, I told him to F off. The look on his face was one of shock. You'd have thought I hit him. I knew I was wrong and immediately backpedaled and apologized profusely. But the damage was done. You cannot unring that bell. By the time I got into my car and headed back to the office had called me. He had called in and was so-called tattling on me. He then contacted every member and prospective member of that new chapter. many of those people who called or emailed me for an explanation. We devoted time in the next meeting going over it again. Most everyone supported my position, but most everyone had an issue with how I went about it. In the end, things smoothed out, but it cost a lot of time, it chewed up lots of mental energy, and it hindered lots of social capital. The moral is, just as it's counterproductive to blow up an earthbound asteroid, it's counterproductive to blow up your relationships. You're best served to just be patient, gently nudge them to either becoming better behaved, better members of your network, or gently nudge them out of your life.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connections. All rights reserved.